Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to read another book. It is called So Loud It Hurts. And again, I will be reading the pages and then showing the pictures, just because that's easier on camera. So I hope you enjoy this book. I learned about it from an OT that I know, and occupational therapist, and I find it a really helpful way to describe certain sensory needs of different individuals. So this one is So Loud It Hurts. Gus loved almost everything about his birthday. He loved baking the rainbow cake with extra sparkles with his grandmother. Do you know what sparkles are? He loved playing hide and seek with his friends while they waited for everyone else to arrive. He loved decorating the living room with his father. Most of all, he loved watching the flames of the little candles dance over the cake. Knowing that he was 1 year older made him feel proud and important. But there were also many things Gus didn't like on his special day. The noise from the dog barking as everyone entered the house. Woof, woof. The balloons that would suddenly pop, making his heart jump and his ears hurt. The high-pitched scream of delight as Aunt Rosie told him he looked very handsome with his green bow tie. The loud clapping everyone made when his little sister, Greta, paraded around in her sparkly tutu. And there was also the noisy singing of the happy birthday song. It was always loud. While others seemed fine with all the music and the noises, Gus found all the sounds so overwhelming that they made his head hurt. Facebook covering his ears. It was as if there were hundreds of little musicians drumming in his brain. Gus couldn't concentrate. He felt like he couldn't breathe. The sounds were so intense and difficult to listen to that he wanted to run away. It was all becoming too much for Gus. He had been nervous all day thinking about the party sounds hurting him, and now they had. He didn't understand why everyone else seemed fine when he wasn't fine. He felt angry that his friends and family would make sounds that bothered him so much. He shouted for everyone to stop making noise. He yelled so loud that even the dog stopped moving. Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, Aunt Rosie, Bobby, Jack, Anish, Sally, Olga, and even little Greta looked at him with big, surprised eyes. Stop making noise! Then he started to cry as he ran to his room. Gus needed to remember what silence felt like. He closed the door, but it was still too loud in his head. He hid inside the small playhouse and placed his hands over his ears. For a small, tiny second, the world was quiet again. Gus, are you all right? Gus felt terrible. He thought he had ruined his special day. There was a knocking on the door. Tap, 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 followed by many heads peeking in to see if Gus was all right. Since everyone couldn't fit in Gus's small playhouse, only Dad came in. It was crowded with the two of them inside, but Gus didn't mind. Together, they talked about sounds. Dad explained that people didn't know that the noises they made bothered Gus so much. Most people weren't as sensitive as Gus was when it came to sounds. It was one of the things that made him unique. As unique as Greta, who wore only sparkly colors, or Grandma, who could only sleep after she had checked that everything in the house was closed twice. As unique as each person is deep down. Dad explained how clapping is one way that we show we like something. He explained that the dog didn't know how to be quiet, especially when he was excited to see people. They shared all the things they loved about Aunt Rosie and how her high-pitched voice made her unique too. There was nothing she could do to change the sound of her voice. Dad quietly said the words of the happy birthday song to Gus, and they both agreed that wishing someone a happy birthday was a nice thing to do. They talked about sounds at school and at home, soft sounds and loud sounds, jingles and songs, car sounds, funny sounds, silly sounds, animal sounds, and wacky sounds. When they were done talking, they started to make their own sounds. Gus could decide how softly they would clap or how loud he would talk with his robot voice. They played with sounds until Dad had needles in his toes from sitting in the small playhouse that was too small for his legs. And then they came up with a great plan. When Gus returned to the party, he asked if the dog could go play outside.